Hello, this is Veterans News, a production of the United Veterans Organization of Nassau County. My name is Ed Allman. I'd like to thank Erica Bradley of North Shore TV for the use of their studio facilities here in Lake Success, and Mike Peters for his technical support for providing the training for our crew. This show is broadcast on public access television. I'd like to say hello to our viewers in both Nassau and Suffolk County. I'd like to thank our co-host, Sabrina Lacey. She's the former commander of the Suffolk County VFW and the current Suffolk County VFW chaplain, right?
District chaplain.
Okay, the district chaplain.
Thank you, Ed.
Welcome, Sabrina. I'd like to thank our crew on camera 1, General Robert Guneri. Camera 2, Mike Felix. Our assistant director is Gene Schurer. Our graphics director is Beverly Allman. Our assistant producer is Eric Spinner. Our producer is yours truly, and our director is Robert Lane. You know, I have to do something different. If there's any member of the crew that would like to come up here and take this empty seat today, I could use help interviewing our guest. Is there anybody?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. I knew I could count on you.
That's Eric Spinner. He's our co-host occasionally, and today he's a guest. By the way, if you'd like to ask me any question about the show or make a comment, please go to my email, mardiv1@optimum.net. Our guest today is Robert Misseri. All right? Okay, of Paws of War. We'll talk to our guest in a few minutes, but first let us remember some of the veterans who died recently. Linda Patrizzi of Oceanside was a Vietnam War era veteran of the U.S. Navy, and she was former post commander of the Oceanside American Legion. Joseph Trattoria of Wantor served in the 8th Army Air Corps during World War II. Irving Sobel of Westbury was part of the famous Flying Tigers of World War II. Anthony Chiochochi of Massapequa was a member of the U.S. Army and a member of the AMVETS and the American Legion. Joseph Waltman of Babylon died aged 62. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps and became a sergeant in the Pomona Police Department. Gerard O'Connor of Lynbrook was a Korean War veteran who served with the U.S. Air Force and the New York Air National Guard. Nicholas Labusco of Garden City was a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. Edward Bruns of Malvern served in the U.S. Air Force as, guess this, a Russian interpreter. Ooh. He became a member of the Vulcan Fire Department, the Elks, the KFC, and a Gift of Life Club. Salvatore Citriano of Farmingdale participated in the invasion of Okinawa, and he served at Normandy. He was a member of the VFW. William Harding of Amityville was an Army veteran of World War II, and he taught school in New York City. If you know a veteran who died recently and you would like their name mentioned here, please email me at mardiv1@optimum.net. That's the end of Veterans News. Now it's time for our guest, Robert Misseri of Paws of War. Robert, what's your title?
President.
President?
Yes.
And I understand you were the founder of the organization?
I am founder, yes.
Okay. What is the Paws of War? And by the way, if you hear something, you want to interrupt
Absolutely.
You go
Good.
ahead.
Good.
Okay.
So Paws of War is a non-for-profit that provides service dogs for our veterans that are suffering from TBI, which is traumatic brain injury, and post-traumatic stress. We also train our dogs for other disabilities, but that's the primary role. And in addition to that, we provide a service to our active military who are serving overseas currently all over the world that befriend, rescue an animal while on deployment. So that could be a cat or a dog, and then they fall in love with it, they nurture it back to health, and they want to bring it back to America. They don't want to leave it behind.
Is there somebody else you also help? First responders, I understand.
So our program does help veterans and first responders, and of course, all first responders, retired and active, all military veterans, of course, and active military in our program. We welcome them all.
Okay.
It's an interesting point that you bring in the first responders, because many of them, other than the firefights, are suffering from the same injuries.
In many ways they are, and we have a large population of NYC firefighters that were down at 9/11. And not only are they dealing with a variety of health conditions, including cancer and other things, they are dealing with real difficulties with post-traumatic stress from the ones they lost, from just being down, a lot of variety of different things that they've gone through. And we have them in our program. But right down to a paramedic who constantly is forced to get to a scene and have someone who's ripped apart by a car, or you're constantly dealing with that. It's something that and you don't get a break from it. That's your job. And it keeps going and going and going and going, and then at a certain point the body breaks, the mind breaks, and they develop, PTSD. And we have a lot of paramedics. So whether it's police officers, paramedics, firefighters, we see it all, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. You said you do something for the active duty military? What is that?
We have two programs, one local here on Long Island, where we train an active military's pet for free, of course, and we provide a variety of different services. But for the active military that are serving our country right now overseas, they are, unlike the countries that they are serving in, they're big animal lovers. So they could find a cat or a dog, puppy, that's in Middle East or wherever. Right now we're in Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe?
Yep. Yeah.
Ukraine.
Sure.
So outside of right before the invasion, literally right before the invasion, a soldier reached out to us, and he had rescued a cat. And he fell in love with this cat. The cat fell in love with him. He was with the cat for 3-4 months, and he did not want to leave this cat behind. Did
he have to marry him before she brought him back?
What?
Did he have to get married before he brought him back?
No, thank God on that one he didn't have to. We were going to put him on 90 Day
But do they
Fiancé.
give you a hard time when you're bringing the little kitties back because of this and that? And
So it's a good question. When we bring these animals in, there's a whole quarantine process. There is a lot of paperwork that we have to fill out, and we have to get medically these animals cleared. It's not easy anymore, clearing customs and what have you. But it is a process, and the biggest process is when we have to go collect that animal, because especially when we were in Afghanistan, we would have to send people into the mountains and the remote parts. We're doing it now in Syria. We're doing it in a lot of different parts of the world. And it's nothing worse than talking to an active military member who had to leave a dog behind, knowing the fate of that dog. It's very, these areas are very unkind to animals. The people are, the terrain is, and having that animal so close to them and now having to leave it behind is brutal on them. It weighs so heavy.
When I was over in Korea, I know that some of the delicacies were dogs, and that was very trying for me because, I'm a dog lover. Robert, when did you first start with the Paws of War?
So we
Was it around the time you met me?
That's right. So 2014.
Yes.
And it was a trying time learning how to help our veterans here on Long Island that were suffering from a variety of different things. There weren't a lot of programs. There just wasn't, especially when it came to animals. And we learned that they were really changing the lives of these now disabled veterans, disabled in so many different ways. But for those who wanted to bring a dog into their life, it really made a big difference. And we started to see real changes. We started to see people come out of their homes, reduce their medication, some by 100% reduction. Getting employment, going back to work, going to family functions. So we started seeing all these things change just because they had the right dog in their life. A trained dog, a dog that was giving them the ability to freedom, getting them back in the gym. We had a guy that was 410 pounds. He's now 190 pounds. He went back into the gym 5 months after having that dog.
Beautiful.
He started every morning at 6 o'clock getting up and walking that dog. Now he's running with that dog. So it changes things in so many different ways.
The significance of that program that I found intriguing is when my daughter, she served in the military, she was hurt also, and she was, our family was dislocated from each other. My girls were upset because I was deployed, and I was the breadwinner, and I was the most strong person with the boundaries. So when I came back, they weren't happy to see me because they became independent. And that's one of the things that happened when the mother and the father's deployed. The kids become more independent. And then as they become independent, when the parent comes back, there's a lot of problems, right, Robert?
Well, so that's right. So we all know that our active military, the families pay a price for it. So here is Sabrina serving overseas. Her family, and every active military family, suffer from it because they're away, the communication's not there. They can't just say, all right, I'll be back in 2 hours or I'll be home next week. So the families are affected by it. And then for our veterans who come back, who are now suffering from what they've endured, are bringing this into their home. PTSD, being medicated and all these things, having anger issues and so forth and so on. So we're happy that we're making a big difference for those that are in our program.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because everybody thinks of what the veteran goes through when they're deployed, but they don't realize that there's a constant period of adjustment and change for those left behind as well.
Tremendous.
So when they get back together, everything is different for everybody involved.
But the dog, significant of the dog, because when you brought the dog, the pit bull, to me, through my daughter, I was like, absolutely not. No dog, no pit bull in my house. No. And then here come Robert. Man, calm down. It's okay. I was really riled up, right? Wasn't I riled up?
You were.
And Robert said to me, look at this dog, Tank. Right? I said, that monster is going to eat me up. That was the response.
He looked like he would, but he would
Right.
never. He would never.
And the intervention that the Paws of War and the program that you had, and then all the other things, those little programs, when you had those little gatherings, when you came out into the parking lot, you had the motorcycle people, you brought the whole community together. Nassau County, Suffolk County, Queens, everybody came out for that. And you had the resources there, and everybody was happy, and great food.
Yes, great. Always good food. Always have to have good food.
The people who could not, the veterans who could not bring a dog to their home, they had the opportunity to engage with the dog right there at that little that event that you had. Yep. And I hear that you're still doing those events.
Those events are important for those who may have never owned a dog before or are afraid of dogs. It's a no-brainer for those who love dogs. They reach out to us. But those who we see, just like Sabrina, Tank was placed with Sabrina's daughter. And a short story behind it, we emptied out the entire animal shelter at Fort Bragg. And it was the first time it's ever happened before.
How did you do that?
We got permission from the base to, for anyone who doesn't know, Fort Bragg is tremendous. It's a city, and it has a regular city-sized animal shelter. So those who are being deployed have to, if they don't have family or friends that can take their dog, they go to an animal shelter. And at a certain point, those dogs would be put down if they're not adopted. Oh. So we emptied the entire shelter out, and we brought all the dogs back to Long Island. One of the dogs was named Tank, and it was a pit bull, and of course, intimidating looking. Her daughter fell in love with it, and it became her service dog. We trained it, and she was separable, correct?
And she learned how to be compassionate. And I'm going to say this too, I learned how to be a little bit loving too, because that brought it together when my daughter said, Ma, you know, you never kissed us. I said, well, let me kiss you now. And she was like, no, I'm too old, right? Now we kissing the dog.
Right.
All right, so that was the significance of that. And then I was around the Brentwood VFW. When I brought the dog down to the post, the guys wanted to let the dog join the post. So Tank became a member of the post.
Wow.
There was one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, I don't think it's significant, but he was an Iraqi guy. He was really my trouble child. I said to him, he couldn't have a dog. I said to him, he liked Tank. I said, you could come to my house anytime you want in the morning and take Tank for a walk. The guy came to my house 6 o'clock in the morning. The next day, 5 o'clock in the morning. And Tank was so tired. Tank didn't even want to go. But that changed his ideology also. And he became a little bit open, and he became a little bit trustworthy to me. And then I got him to go to school. And now I can tell you, he's serving all over the place. So thank you for that,
thank
Robert.
you. And
that program really opened up a lot of different dynamics of helping transmit veterans for not committing suicide.
Yep.
And I'm going to say, I can say that for a fact because a lot of the veterans that I've talked to, they speak so highly of you, and they wanted me to tell you, thank you for saving their lives. And in honor of that, we want to say we love you and we care for everything that you do and every veteran that you touch. We're going to continue to make sure the Paws of War continue and spread this wherever we can, because there's a veteran out there that don't want to come out. Come on out. Got Robert here. Yep. Come on out and we can get you a little poochie, right, Rob?
Yep.
So if there was a veteran and they decided that they wanted to come out and they wanted to see what the dog's about, where can they go to
They come
get introduced?
right to our facility, and if we don't have a dog there, at the time, we would generally find a dog, a rescue. Mind you, all of our dogs are rescued, and we would find a dog pretty quickly. And we match that dog up with your personality, your energy level, things like that. And we want to place a dog that we feel is going to be right for you, and then we start the training process. But absolutely, down in our facility, we welcome everybody, and every day someone comes in to talk to us about adopting a dog or getting a service dog. And in your case, like with Tank brought you and Deja together again.
Yes.
And that bond, just that mutual love for Tank, gave you guys that that gap that was missing.
And the veterans at the VFW, they were happy to see the dog, and they would pet the dog. So the dog became part of the post. And then when there's some people that came there with some issues, Tank would let them know, we don't let you bring that stuff in here. So he was very, very
intuitive. He picked up on so many different things. Brilliant dog, just a brilliant dog.
Yeah.
Just a dog things that you could never train into a dog, that this dog had the brilliance for. It was just, he would know when if Deja was having a little bit of a bad day right away. So he picked up on so many things that just training couldn't accomplish.
And my daughter Deja served in the Army. She got hurt in the Army. That girl broke so many different things, I can't even mention it. She's a very strong woman. And she had a relationship with Robert. She can communicate with Robert. I've never seen her communicate with anybody because she had a lot of anger. My mom died while I was on active duty. So my kids went through a little things about that, and I wasn't there to cover them because I was still overseas. But Robert broke through that barrier of her and got her out of her shell. And then now she's working for one of the government entities. She has another dog, right? She has her own house. She's married, so she's doing pretty good. And the relationship is better. But one of the things I want to bring to the forefront also, Robert, is when you got that facility in Smithtown, you got a lot of veterans to come out and volunteer to help with the training. Talk about that a little bit.
So volunteers are always critical for us. And, if you have great training skills, they're always welcome. But we always need volunteers at any age, from 18 on up, that wants to be part of and helping the veteran community, the first responder community. We're able to give back to so many, and so many of our veterans are so grateful. We get phone calls and we get texts from veterans' wives or husbands that say, you know, I didn't think he would be alive today. And for those who don't know, we're at 22 veterans a day taking their lives.
Yeah.
And we get those messages, and I have one guy that brought me a bottle of wine a couple of weeks ago, an expensive bottle of wine, and I knew he couldn't afford it. And I said, what is this for? He goes, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for you.
Wow.
So, you know, we're not looking for the pats on the back, but we know that what we're doing is working.
Yeah.
So, and we want to continue,
Robert,
obviously.
what's your website?
pawsofwar.org, pawsofwar.org.
Okay. You have something, and I'm going to make a fool of myself, but you have something called a pet therapy program. I didn't think pets were in therapy.
Good question, good point. So we have a hybrid. So what we do is we have our veterans and first responders who have service dogs with us. They're considered dual purpose dogs. So it's a service dog for that individual and a therapy dog that we take to the VA hospital, a nursing home. We have a camp that we go to for children with disabilities. So that veteran is now giving back.
Oh.
That first responder is giving back. They feel like, you know what, they're doing a great thing. They're taking their dog, and that dog for that day is acting as a therapy dog for others.
Yes.
So that's where it gets confusing. It's unique.
Oh, so the therapy is not for the dog, it's
It's
dog
for the
is
individual that they bring.
individual.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's right.
Well, it's very interesting that we know that the one biggest problem that those suffering from PTSD or trauma need is to get the expression going.
That's right.
They have to be able to interact. Now, we all have our special relationships. We have a friend we can confide in. But for the veteran coming home, especially when others have not served, they don't understand. So as somebody who's served, regardless of what level I've served, I have buddies who will come to me and they can dump on me. And I don't care because I'm there to give them strength. I'm there to give them an outlet. With a dog, they don't have to question whether there's any question about how sincere they are.
right.
It is giving
Unconditional. Yep.
unconditional response.
That's right. That's right. And you know, getting them out. We have our veterans who have all of our vests say, "Do not pet." You know, please. And some of our veterans have multiple patches. They have it on a leash. They have it pretty obvious. Don't pet the dog. And that's not because they don't want you petting their dog. It's because in the beginning they don't want the interaction. And of course, if you see a cute dog, everybody says, "Oh, he's
Yeah.
cute," but they're not prepared for that. A lot of our veterans don't want someone coming up to them. It's making them nervous. It brings anxiety on. 8 months into the program, they start taking those patches off, and they want that engagement.
Good.
They want people coming up to them. They want to say, hey, they want people to engage. So we're seeing that transformation,
Right, the barriers are down.
and it's being carried by a dog.
Yeah.
One of the things that I spoke to you, Robert, about is, you know, recently my dog passed away from cancer, and it was very traumatic for me, and I'm quite sure there's another veteran out there who lost their pup, and they don't want another pup because they lost that one pup.
That's right.
Because they get really attached to the pup. I spiraled down really far. However, Ed called me up and said, "Sabrina, it's time for us to do the show." I was like, "I'm not coming on that show," you know? And Ed, this is the reason why I come to your show, okay? When you come out, that's why I'm gonna let the veterans know, when you come out, it changes the whole tenacity of what's going on inside where you are. And then if someone is gonna bring something out of you, and that's the interaction with human beings is what's the grander about something. And when I came here, I know I have a purpose here because somebody out there want to hear me. I know you don't, Spencer.
I love listening to you.
But,
and I love interacting with you.
But the most important thing is, my dog was dying from cancer, and I was like, I don't have anybody to call. I talked to the veterinarians, they took all my money, and I was like, oh. And then my daughter, Dage, said to me, the one I'm doing, "Did you call Robert? Why did you call Robert?" And that's when I called Robert. Didn't think Robert was going to answer the telephone. Robert answered the telephone. "Why you didn't call me, Sabrina?" You know, because I don't like to bother people. But I was really spiraling down, and he could hear it in my voice. Okay? And then he says to me, you know, "This is what you have to do. I want to come bring your mobile." And he know if he brought the mobile, the veterans would come out. And if the veterans would come out, then I would feel better, especially at my post. He could bring the whole truck down there and helps other people with their poochies. And then he said, your purpose is to bring awareness to cancer in dogs. So if there's someone we can prevent that, we know what the signs and symptoms are of if your dog are going through something and you may have something. And that's when the mobile comes.
That's right.
Robert, is your name Bob? Can I call you Bob?
You can call me Bob. A lot of people do.
You can call
Because
me
I
Bob.
wanted to call you
Yeah,
Bob ever
good.
since.
Call me Bob.
Bob, what is the Veterans Mobile Clinic?
I'm glad she brought that up. So this is the first of its kind that provides free wellness and veterinary services for our veterans and first responders. And we're able to look for things that can be cancer, things that we can catch early on, early screening. The focus of the vehicle, it's a little mobile vehicle that is like a little veterinary clinic.
It's like a hospital on
It's a
wheels.
little hospital on wheels.
Who pays for it?
Donors. Well, it's not an easy thing to fund because we are a grassroots organization, and we have to try to find veterinarians who will come on board and work that day for free because we don't have the funds to pay them.
Right.
But it provides a tremendous service. Vaccines, nail clippings, little things that our even most of our veterans don't want to go to.
And some of the veterans can't afford food.
They can't afford it. They can't afford it.
And they tell them about the
So,
food.
and we provide all the food for the days, and we always, any veteran on Long Island needs any service, foods, things like that, we're always there for them. We're always stocked with that.
Very good.
But we have, those services are in need, especially for many veterans. We find a lot of older veterans who are not service connected. They're barely feeding themselves. So taking a dog to a vet for $500-600 bill is going to really affect them.
Where is it going to be next month?
So
this month?
We're going to be on the 17th at the AmVets in Central Islip.
17th
Of June.
June?
Of June.
The AmVets?
And AmVets in Islip.
Islip.
That's on Carlton Avenue.
Carlton
Okay.
Avenue.
Carlton Avenue in
Yes.
Islip.
And they can reach out to us if they want to make an appointment. And of course, everything is free of charge.
You
Very
just
good.
opened up another avenue for me.
We have 2 minutes left.
Okay?
Okay.
Very quick. I do food drives for the Veterans Food Pantry. My last food drive, I collected a whole carload of going out of date pet food. I now have a place to get it to.
There you go. Welcome. I welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
How about you wrap it up?
Well, first I want to thank you all. It was an honor to be here today. And anyone who would like to learn more, please visit us at pawsofwar.org. And most importantly, if you want to get involved, please, let's help more veterans and first responders that need our services. And thank you, everybody.
Okay.
God bless
Thank you.
America.
We have a minute and a half left.
so
You sure
now
you
that
don't-
when he's doing this drive and everything, the things that he's doing, when you do that at the AmVets, the veteran's going to come along and then they can do a drive for people to join their posts. So now we can get more veterans to expand in the post because they see that there's a need for them to help at the post as
That's
well.
right. And we will be setting up at Sabrina's post. We're going to coordinate a date going into the summer, probably a 2-day date, where the truck will be there. We'll have food, we'll have dog food, we'll have pet food, we'll have cat food.
Very good.
And it'll be a great day.
Okay.
Bringing great service.
That's it for Veterans News. I'm Ed Allman. We'll try to get more of our crew up here in the future shows. Next month we have somebody coming from the VA.
Oh,
So,
yes.
The VA in New York City. Should be good.
Yes.
Can the camera crew come up? Come
I
on.
hope they come in with good news.
You only have a few seconds left. Let's get Bob Gennari and Frank Lane up here.
And our prayers out
Mike,
to
Great job,
Felix.
guys.
our
Mike
prayers out to the
Felix.
fallen soldiers as Memorial Day creeps in on us. You know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming.